That's just how we roll. You know what it is, what it is. How we roll. You know what it is, what it is. That's just how we roll.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining Gab with Goldnbronze. I do appreciate it very much. Gab with Goldnbronze is a lifestyle and an entertainment podcast that offers an authentic, behind-the-scenes look into everyday journey of myself. The show is designed to entertain, inspire, and connect through fun and eclectic and thoughtfully curated content rooted in real-life experiences of myself. Each episode reflects my interests, creativity, and approach to living while remaining aligned with my family centered values and evolving lifestyle. So, what's up? What's up? Listen up. Let's get started today. Now, I do want to say that I have had one heck of a Thursday. The person that I had scheduled to come on today was not able to get to his studio in time to log on. So I have to freestyle. And one of the great things about doing this show is you always have to be able to freestyle. Things are going to happen. So I picked a topic and I had a random co host. She couldn't get her speakers to work. Not only that, then when I get on my platform, I play a pre-recorded podcast that I didn't intend to play. So I had to stop everything and start all over again. And that just shows you resilience because I could have said to heck with it. The devil's busy today, but I did not give up. I persevered, and here I am. So I thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to come share with me on At Home with Goldnbronze. The topic today is the rise of minimalism versus materialism. Why some people are decluttering and downsizing while others are living larger than necessary. Now, that's really important to me and kind of fits into, I thought, well, if I have to freestyle, let me freestyle about something that I'm familiar with. And so I'm going to just say for a minute because this topic, At Home with Goldnbronze, is, my channel is set on the premise of me at home and what I'm doing. And we all know that when you're at home, everything that can go wrong sometimes does. You take a deep breath. It's not perfect. We're all human. And so we will go forward with the day. I thank you for being here. I have a question. Why does it feel like half of the world is decluttering, downsizing, and choosing less, while the other half seems to be splurging, upgrading, and living larger than really necessary? So, minimalism versus materialism is really two different lifestyles, two very different motivations, and healthier. They're both healthy in a way. Neither is one healthier than the other, is what I meant to say. So today we're unpacking what really is behind this divide and what it might be revealing about ourselves. And like I said to you a minute ago, I found myself in this topic because that's exactly what I did. So what we're seeing around the United States is this: the homes, capsules of, different types of homes, wardrobes, neutral aesthetics. Those are things that people are thinking about. Um, some want to buy, some don't want to buy. There are things that we call digital detoxes, and people just want to live slowly or slower than they did before. And I say that because for years I was one of those in that fast paced environment, doing 10 things at once, in many in a day. And one day I just decided I wanted to slow down. Meanwhile, luxury, Paul's designer drops, bigger homes, and fashion lifestyles seem to be other people's trends. Social media magnifies both extremes. One side is saying, I want peace. I'm tired of spending all my money on a home, a car, bills. Survival is what it is. But after you do that for 30, 40 years, and the older you get, do you still really need the big 4 or 5 bedroom, 2 story, 2 living room, 2 dining, 2 eating, two car, 2 everything when it's just you? Do you really need that? The other is saying, I want more, 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 more. Bigger, the better. I just want more. But I have a real question for you. Isn't what people wanting deep inside more important than anything? And why do they do what they do? So, first, we will address why people get to a point where they want less. Minimalism. It didn't start as an aesthetic, it started as a relief to something. You get some of the key drivers to wanting smaller and less is burnout culture. You have to sometimes burn yourself out to have more, 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 more. It doesn't just fall out the sky and knock on your door. You have to work for it. And so you get burned out just to have more stuff. And who are we really trying to impress by having more stuff? It can be an emotional overload. The burnout can actually lead to you being emotionally just burn out, just distraught, an overload, like I can't take anymore. And then with some people, you get debt fatigue. And other people pay cash for everything and they spend all their money on materialistic things. It's a lifestyle that they thought they wanted and they did and they enjoyed it when they had it. But you either have a lot of debt or less cash for spending more money. And then sometimes with those things that I mentioned comes trauma recovery. You can be so burnt out, so overloaded, so much into debt that it can create emotional, you know, depression or something like that. And so then you have to go through the trauma recovery. And then the desire to control and have clarity of things. These are reasons why people want less. They just get tired of all of the hustle, the bustle, the burnout, the bills, the debt, the cash, the spending, the really, um, once you become a minimalist, you can kind of take a deep breath and breathe a little bit. For many people, decluttering isn't about stuff. It's not about just stuff. It's about survival. So, I'll just tell you, like when I decided to declutter, I had 20 years worth of stuff to get rid of in the attic, in the garage, in the closets, this and that. And a lot of that stuff hadn't looked at in 10, 15 years. And some of the stuff wasn't my stuff. It was other people's stuff that was storing it in my house. And when I started to declutter, let me tell you, I got so overwhelmed. So I felt burdened. I'm like, I got to get rid of all this stuff by myself. And so I don't ever want to get that much stuff again because that was so much work just trying to declutter. What do you get rid of? What do you keep? What's memorabilia? What's junk? What can I live without? That right there caused me overload and burnout. Tie that into healing. When you've lived through chaos, abuse, instability, financial stress, peace starts to look like an empty space. And a lot of us have lived through that. I have, certainly, all of it. And when you decide to choose your own option versus what is expected of you or what other people think, you have a sense of peace. Having a lot of stuff doesn't make you any less of a person than the person that has a lot of stuff. It really doesn't. It's a choice. Minimalism becomes a form of self-regulation. I've made a point to make sure that I don't keep more stuff than I really need. Hold on, you guys, my glasses are okay. There we go. I've taken control of just how much stuff I want to keep and what stuff is really necessary to keep. Being a minimalist is a way to quiet the noise all around you. And being a minimalist is reclaiming a sense of agency. Now, keep in mind, I used to be one of those that, and I live in a state where you're defined by how big your house is, or how big your car is, or what kind of car you have, and where you work, and everything is big in this state that I live in. But that I learned through many, many years of just coexisting in this state, that it doesn't define who you are. There's a lot of people with a lot of big stuff and a lot of things. They have a lot of problems and a lot of stress. So less stuff, sometimes it's less noise. And certainly it's less expectation. There is a psychological to decluttering. There's a science behind why letting go feels good. Now, I want to say before I let go of a lot of things, um, it took me a long time because some of the stuff that I had is family memorabilia that is important to me that I will keep. But when I really saw all the stuff that I had accumulated in that house, it was kind of embarrassing. I gave it all to the VA or Soul Harbor or the Goodwill because they would come by and get it. But to look at all that stuff, and I'm like, why in the world do people hold on to stuff for 20, 30 years, stuff that you haven't even looked at? And it was very relaxing for me to just let it go. It felt good to let a lot of that stuff go. Some of it had bad memories and attached to it, and that, I don't know why I held on to it, but also letting go gives you a decision of not having fatigue from the decrease of things. Cortisol levels drop in organized spaces. You just feel better. Visual clutter equals mental clutter. And when you visually get rid of that clutter, you have less mental clutter. So for some, cleaning out a closet is easier than cleaning out emotions, but it's a start. And I say that because I know people, oh, maybe they're hoarders, to be honest with you. Um, they have stuff that they really don't need to keep. And when they go to clean out the closet, they'll find themselves saying, and I used to be this person when it came to clothes. Okay, I haven't worn this in 2 years, but I might wear it this year. And that year will pass, and I never wear it. Or, I really haven't worn this in several years, but maybe it's going to come back in style. Those are just reasons to hold on to junk, okay? Not my new philosophy is if you haven't worn it in 2 years, or if you haven't laid your eyes on it in 2 years, if you haven't touched it in 2 years, if you forgot about it within just 2 years, chances are you're not going to remember it, you're not going to use it, you're not going to touch it, you're not going to wear it. And so, therefore, you really are not going to need it. So, the gentle truth is this: minimalism can be very healing. But it can also become avoidance if we're not careful. Like, like I just mentioned. So those are things to think about when it comes to minimalism. And I fell into that wanting more, 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 and having more, 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 more requires maintaining it. And like when you are single, maintaining more can be very stressful. Not for everybody, because, I didn't get anything that I couldn't afford. I lived within my means, and a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. But even if you're living within your means, there's things attached to more that you can expect to have to pay to keep more and to have more. And when it's just you, you don't have any help to do it. Why do you hold on to it? If somebody else wants more, they can get it, just like you did. So it's a choice. It's a lifestyle choice, and it's a big one when you go from having more to being a minimalist. I think I prefer the minimalist right now, especially the older that I get. Um, I could see families wanting big homes, big cars, big vans, big SUVs, things like that. But as you are blessed enough to get older, you start realizing that you don't always need the big 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom, or 2 story home with two, three, four of everything in it when it's just you. So if you have become a minimalist like myself, congratulations, because it's a big decision to make. Now we're going to talk about materialism, why some people are choosing to have more. Even some single people want the big 5 bedroom house, and that's their choice if they want that. But we're going to go over why some people choose more, because they certainly, nobody has to pay for it but them. They can have a mansion if they want to. It's on them. It's a choice, like I said. Uh, let's talk about the other side, because this isn't about judgment at all. Like I said, it's about choice. It's about affordability. It's about whatever makes you happy. Materialism often comes from a scarcity mindset. It comes from um, not having much in the past, um, desire for validation, cultural pressure. Like I just mentioned when I said I became a minimalist, where I was living, people define your success by how big your car is, what kind of car, whether it's luxury versus economy, how big your house is, and I'll go even further. They define you by where your house is. Um, some people desire validation of status, is cultural pressure from your peers, if you worry about that. Or you might just have a hustle identity. That just might be who you are. Hustle for more. That's what hustlers do. They want bigger, better, and more. So, as long as they're hustling for it, amen to them. For someone who grew up without a lot of stuff, though, without an abundance, having an abundance feels like a safety net for them. And a lot of times it's the people that grew up without that make it a point to tell you about every little blessing that comes their way. And if you think about it, some of the richest people in the world, you couldn't pick them out of a group of some of the poorest people. They don't dress flashy. They dress very modestly. And you would never know that they were millionaires or billionaires because they've had the abundance. They don't have to prove that they have the abundance, or they're not looking for validation or approval. Buying more isn't always about greed, though. Let me clarify that. It's often about reassurance to oneself that, yeah, I've arrived. I can do whatever I want because I have money. I need this. I need all of this to remind myself of where I came from and where I am now. Not always. That is my disclaimer. Some people are born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and so they're used to living like this. And when you are accustomed to a certain lifestyle, being a minimalist is not going to cut it for you. So when you grow up that way, daddy's filthy rich, and I'm used to having any and everything that I want. It's pretty hard to go the other direction after that. So luxury for some people is proof of wealth. Luxury for some people is proof of worth. Luxury for some people, success. But my disclaimer to that is success is measured by everybody differently. So is wealth, is measured by everybody differently. And my disclaimer is that I said some people, this is proof of wealth. Some people, it is proof of worth. With some people, it is proof of success. And with some people, it is an armor against insecurity. And for the people that are in the group of that some are usually the people that did not grow up in a lifestyle of abundance. Okay, you know what? I just had a thought. Social media has a big play on performance in people's lifestyles. So let's be honest. Many people aren't living big, they're performing big. Now, before I go further, my brother said that to me one day. He said, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. A lot of the people there are performing big. And I really didn't understand what he meant when he said that at the time. But later on, I got to know people. Excuse me. I thought I saw a flash behind me. That I know their lifestyle. I know where they live, how they live, living in between. But on social media, they're performing big time, living in the lap of luxury. And when he first said that, I didn't pay much attention to it, but I started watching because I'm like, wait a minute. I know where she lives. That's not her house or his or whatever. And so I started paying attention to he's a little older than me, but he was right on the money. Not everybody is being honest. You have to take social media consumption as just content. And there's a young man that posts a lot of things on social media, and he tells me all the time, this is not my real life. This is just content. And he's probably told me that 5 or 6 times because I'm thinking people post real life stuff uh, on social media. Like who is there to impress? We don't know the people behind the laptop, but he's always telling me this is not my real life. This is just content. And I'm like, oh, okay. I finally got it one day. Don't believe anything that he posts. He said it a zillion and one times. It's just content. And so we get caught up on people performing big, which causes a lot of stress with the people trying to be like the people performing big. My glasses keep sliding, so y'all forgive me here. but I'm at home. So this is at home at Goldnbronze. Lifestyle sometimes is just a brand. Those people that are on social media performing big is a brand. It's not reality. It only took me about 10 years for for me to sink in. That is not real. It's just their brand. Um, so what we see is their lifestyle on social media. And again, my disclaimer is not everybody, but we just don't know. We don't know who is performing and who is being real. Yeah, my glasses look sideways to me. I don't know. Maybe it's the way I'm holding my head. But we don't know who's performing big and who's performing. I mean, who it is reality for, and who's performing big. But people get caught up on social media, and they go and they want to live those big lavish lifestyles like the people that they see on social media, um, and they compare themselves. Now I know teenagers, we really have a lot of problem with teenagers doing this, but I think adults do it too. You know. So when your value feels tied to visibility, when you feel like man, woman, boy, or girl, that your value is tied to your social visibility, more becomes necessary. You want to show a big house, not a little one, a fancy car, not an average one, designer clothes, or whatever. You got to show more than the average if social media is a brand for you. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay, here's the danger when you're always proving yourself, when you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, is what they used to say back in my mother's day. Today is keeping up with social media, but when you're always trying to do that, you never get to rest. You're just posting, 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 posting. You never get to rest. You never get to be authentic. You never get to be real. Think about that. Well, to be honest with you, minimalism and materialism are both coping mechanisms. Here's the plot twist to them both. Both minimalism and materialism can be responses to the same kind of pain. You know? Let that marinate for a minute. One controls by removing stuff, one controls by acquiring stuff. Different strategies, same root. So the truth drop is the healthiest place isn't extreme, it's intentional. At some point, we all have to answer the question, what is enough for me? If you're one of those that, want more, hold on. When is enough enough? Not what looks good online, not what impresses others, not what culture demands, but what supports your peace, what aligns with your values, what your nervous system can handle and can't handle. And to me, the most important one is What supports your peace? That's the bottom line. What supports your peace? These glasses are new, but I tell you, I don't like them. But I'm going to roll with it, okay? That's a little funny. I could be a little comical too, y'all. So, enough is personal. What's enough for me might not be enough for my daughter, might not be enough for my neighbor, might not be enough for a lot of people. And what is too much for some may be too much. I mean, what is not enough may be too much for me. So that's what I'm trying to say. So practical reflection for listeners is to think of these things right here. When you purchase things, does that bring you peace really? Or does it cause more pressure? Are you paying cash or are you charging and getting into more debt? More debt will cause more stress and more pressure. When you're decluttering, are you decluttering to heal or to avoid? For me, it was healing. I had too much stuff. So much, I don't ever want to have that much stuff in my house again. I really don't. It took me weeks and weeks and weeks to get rid of 20 years worth of stuff. And when you buy stuff, am I buying to enjoy it or just to be seen having it? Am I doing it for me or do I want people to see what I have? Do I want people to see that I have a lot of stuff and that the stuff that I have is designer or whatever? Or am I truly doing it for me? The bottom line is, people, you don't have to live small. You don't have to live big. You just have to live well and be healthy. And how you live, whether it's big or whether it's small, it's dependent on no one but you. One thing that is important, you don't have to live big to feel like you're living worthy. And if you're living minimally, it doesn't make you small. So whether you're simplifying your life or splurging, the goal isn't stuff. It's alignment. You are aligning your life. Okay? It's alignment for you. A life that feels good on the inside doesn't need constant upgrades. It doesn't need constant improvement on the outside. And the most luxurious thing you can own, the most important thing in life that you could ever say that you have is peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace within yourself is more important than whether you're a minimalist or materialist. If it brings you peace and you're happy, that's fine. I just wanted to characterize the two because I went from being a materialistic person to a minimalist just because I got tired of all the stuff. I didn't want it anymore. All right. So I want to thank you all. This has been At Home with Goldnbronze, where we remind ourselves that home isn't a size, it isn't a price, it isn't a price tag, rather, or a lifestyle. It's how you feel when you freely and finally exhale. Until next time, choose what truly serves you best, what makes you happy, where your peace resides. Thank you. This is another episode at Home with Goldnbronze, and come back again next week, 7 p.m., where we will have Jocks Johnson, big hip hop entertainer, director. I think he's been in a few movies. He'll be our guest next week. Until then, keep it real and remember, stay safe, stay happy at home. This is Golden Bronze, at home with Golden Bronze. So have a blessed day. Bye-bye.